Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Stella and I hope you are well. Today is July 9th, 2025 and thank you so much for watching the last video and or I think it was 2 videos ago now regarding the tiny homes. I want to go back to that subject matter. So this week I had the pleasure of going to a Graceland building site or dealer that's in Ocala, Florida, and looking at some of the Graceland sheds. They're beautiful buildings, very solid. I wanted to also mention I've been really receiving a wonderful education these past couple of weeks looking into the tiny home thing, and I want to mention and caution against using the words tiny home. And the reason being, so I've got my desktop here, the reason being what I've determined from several places that I've gone to is that from a permitting standpoint, it just matters what you're calling a storage building. So obviously if you're going to, and I would always recommend getting the building permit, because if you don't and you have land and all of a sudden these dealers will go ahead and deliver the building, is what I've been told, that we don't care if you have a permit or not, we'll go ahead and deliver that building to you. But if you don't have some sort of a permit, then that's when I think you would have zoning folks, planning folks from your area going, well, wait a minute, who's that and why are there buildings on this land, and let's see if this person has a permit. And then you're attracting attention. Not that we're hiding out if we decide to go into a smaller structure to live in, but still, I mean, you want to go by the rules and not run into any sort of problems, fees or fines or whatever could result from you just placing 3 or 4 buildings on land and thinking that's cool, so. But from a permitting standpoint, what somebody said to me off record is, he said, because I went in, oh, what about converting to tiny homes and blah, 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 like I've done with all of these dealers that I've been to. And he said, so what I would do if I were you is get a building, a storage permit, and because a shed is meant for storage, at least have the storage permit. And there's a big difference there, because I thought about what he said, because it's like, well, what is a tiny home anyway? So in the state of Florida, tiny home means less than 400 square feet. So if you get one of these giant sheds like I was looking at the other day, and you'll see in the video the 16 by 40s, that is 640 square feet. That's not a tiny home by definition in Florida anyways. Secondly, at that point you would need like a residential permit or a different permit. I don't know if it's called a residential permit, but it's going to be different from a storage permit, and it's going to have a higher cost. Now, the other thing that you have to consider when you're thinking about, I'm going to turn this shed into a home, is that it's going to require an engineer. So at the Graceland location I went to, that their engineer was $3,000, and she said you could use somebody else if you find a different engineer. There may be somebody else, but you know how these businesses work. They have their guy or their person that they're going to refer you to. So, but $3,000 is a lot different from a storage permit in my area, which is like $100 or $200. And so if you take a shed and you put a futon in there, is it a tiny home? No, it's a shed with a futon in there. If you have a garden building, I was researching, well, what is a garden building, and what can that be used for? Can you sleep technically in a garden building? Like, are you, and of course you can do anything as long as nobody's there watching you, but the point is that, I want to be as knowledgeable as possible, so I'm not doing something where later they're like, what, you can't do that, and you're breaking regulations by, doing X, Y, or Z. So what I researched is that, of course, you can live in a garden building if you put like a sofa bed or something in there, but it should be for an occasional use. If it's a permanent situation where you're sleeping in there every day, and once again, who the heck is going to know and inquire and be all in your business worrying about what's going on with the shed? But that's the reason you want to have the permit, because once it's permitted, I feel like a lot of this sort of worrying about or thinking about, what's it technically called at this point would be omitted. I am not an expert on this, so I'm just learning for myself right now. I hope you enjoy these clips. I hope you find this useful. Feel free to subscribe if you like this type of content, because you're going to see me getting rid of stuff, adjusting my life according to where everything is right now. Helena, Georgia. Wind velocity 150 miles per hour, because, you know, obviously in Florida, this is what we really want to know about. Okay guys, so this is the Graceland lot of Ocala, and as you can see there's a lot of beautiful buildings here, and I love the various colors, a lot of greens and browns and nice blues as well. So anytime you're looking at a porch, that takes 4 feet from the front of the shed, and it also adds about $1,000 to the price. By the way, I went on this day with my sister, so she's doing the filming here. I liked this particular building. This is in a brown, and we've got some nice size windows on this building. 1, 2, and there was a couple up front, so I think this has at least 4 windows. And you'll see that heat barrier, that silver stuff at the top, which I'm going to put the correct name of that in here in a moment. But these buildings are built very solid, and I'm going to take the camera in a second from my sister so that I can just show you around the baseboards, around the bottom, and how everything is sealed up pretty nicely. Obviously, it would still need insulation. When I went to a shed guy recently, he said with the various shed buildings, he suggests doing a spray foam insulation and then putting the walls in. And I could see this building with a nice vinyl floor. So this was a fun outing for me and my sister. Okay, so here's the reverse angle of that same shed building, and you can see it has like the 9 light doors. What that door, the front door, is called. I used to always call those like doors with windows in them, but apparently they're called like 9 light doors. So I'm filming for you guys the baseboard area to just show you how tightly everything is sealed. These buildings do have plywood, and I believe these are 4x6s, so it's a very solid structure. In a moment you'll see where the wind speed is 150 miles per hour. For all the Floridians out there, we know how much that is important to us in a state which has the hurricanes. So I like the fact that the building feels so solid, and I, you know, as someone who's not a contractor, never built anything in my life, I feel as I'm walking through these buildings like maybe I could put up a wall. I think I could put down vinyl flooring if I just went on, you know, YouTube and researched it. So it's making me even, you know, push the limits of my own thoughts of what I can do. Although with re-entering corporate America, I really wouldn't have the time for something like that and would probably just hire someone. So there's that 9 light door. There's beautiful windows out front. I am really enamored with the porches on the front of these buildings. I'm a Southerner. Give me the chair, let me sit on the porch, you know, but it actually does add about $1,000 to the front of the building. Look at that little seafoam blue building there. I was like telling my sister, I don't think I would get a building in that color. And blue's my favorite color, but I would do a darker color, a darker shade of blue. So here it is talking about the warranty, and it has a very good warranty on these buildings. The upsetting thing for me was the representative explained that if you are within 50 miles, you have that warranty. Outside of 50 miles, which I'm outside of 50 miles of all the Graceland locations in Florida, then it voids the warranty. She stated, well, you know, we have to haul it from Georgia, and so if we then have to go more than 50 miles, we don't know what could happen in the process. And I'm thinking, well, that's not the consumer's fault. That should not void your warranty at all. You know, that warranty should be in place for all of your customers until the building is delivered. And, you know, so, but she was, you know, mentioning the distance plays a factor in that according to their logic. So this is the outside of the same building I was just showing, or that we were just touring the inside of. So you see there are the nice windows. You can get different colors on the roofs. You'll be able to look at the various buildings and see a lot of examples. All these Graceland buildings have that big G on the side. So there's that. Here is the back of the shed. We've got some pretty good lighting with the windows on the back. Graceland Sheds, Ocala, Florida. Okay, this is the lofted barn option with the 2 lofts up there, and very nice lighting. I like the windows here above the door.
I found my favorite so far.
Oh, let me check it out. But before checking it out, let me just mention that the building wall height is 8 feet in these buildings. When you have the lofted barn, it does take 2 feet from the wall height, so the wall height is 6 feet, and then of course you would need a ladder to access the lofts. Okay guys, so here's my sister's favorite, a brown on brown with the porch in the front, and this one had 1 loft.
Corners. We're the only company that vents through the center, and both outside ridges have soffit venting. If you look outside, you can see that. Here is at the end. This is a 2023, and the size is in the center. It's 12 by 32.
12 by 32, and then, okay, awesome.
That's including the porch.
Now, what's the price point on this one? You
I have to pull it up
Oh,
on the
that's
computer.
fine. Come in and get it
If you want
customized.
single pane, double pane windows, which if you're going to make a residential one,
You want the double
you need a double
pane.
pane windows,
Yeah.
and you need at least 2 house doors.
Okay. Oh, that
But
you do.
can
That's good
actually
that you
get
have the front and the back.
R1 prints through any engineering company, but our company's working with BD Structural.
Okay.
You might be able to find somebody that's a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
I heard they're a little pricey on their prints.
I
About
see.
3,000. I'm sure that depends on the size too.
Okay. Now, do you deliver anywhere in Florida, or
50 miles from our location.
it's free?
Extra.
But yeah, but you'll still deliver there. You just pay an extra.
Yes, so if it's a 14 or 16 wide, they have to hire escorts, so it's like $10 a mile. That's
Okay.
your highest price.
Okay. Because I'm in Central Florida, but so that would be fine. You're just going to pay that $10 a mile after the 50
Correct.
miles.
And
Perfect.
I think it voids the warranty on the building though, because especially on a rent to own, either
Oh, I would
way,
do
it's
cash.
going to be way too far because the factory is in Georgia. So
Got
if
it.
something were to go wrong with the building, they're not going to drive 5 hours to go
Right.
fix something. So it does void the warranty when you go further south.
Okay, inside of her private residence, that is one of these buildings that's actually here on the lot, and it was a repossession. She said it was already built out by the person that they repoed it from. So there is a toilet, there's a shower, and the vanity area. Nice sized living room with the back door, which is required for it to have 2 doors if it's a home in the state of Florida, if you've converted it into a home in the state of Florida. And so obviously this is the kitchen area. I like that nice color blue. And here she is showing talking about the air conditioning unit and how that one unit will cool down the whole house. And so on the left here, I am not sure if that's a duplex, but that's what it reminds me of with the 2 doors on the front. We did not ask to look inside of that, but I was thinking that would be great for a duplex if you had a wall in between both sides there, if you were somebody that was interested in, having rental units. So this is a repossession as well. You can see they've already started to build out the rooms and do electrical work as well as insulation. Now my sister and I are walking to the very back of the lot, and we're about to look at this pressure treated building here on the right with the 2 windows and the 9 light door. This is a customer's building who she said just isn't ready for it yet, so it's just being stored on their property until she gets ready for it. And so just to get an idea of what these 16 by 40s cost, I did have one priced out with the front and the rear door, as well as 5 windows, the porch, and the double pane windows, as well as the radiant barrier, and it was around $23,000. And then of course for me it would be about another $2,000 to deliver the building, because I am more than 50 miles away from any of these any of the Graceland lots. So as you'll see, this one has a back door, which tells me that person is probably going to turn this into a residence as well. So the 12 by 24, which is obviously much smaller, with no porch, just a basic building, but with the 2 doors, the front door and the rear door, and the double paned windows, it is around $12,000. Actually around $11,400 is the price that she quoted us on a 12 by 24. So really with these buildings, it comes down to the size, how you're customizing it. If it's on the lot, she said they could go ahead and deliver in like 1 to 3 weeks, but if it was needing to be built from the factory and sent, then it would be, if it's being customized, it would be about 4 to 6 weeks. So here is a beautiful blue color. I love this color. This is another 16 by 40. And this one has 4 windows, so you can see how much brighter this one is in the interior. All right, guys, thanks for coming along. My sister and I enjoyed coming to this location. We were talking about the uses of these buildings, the possibilities, storage, garden house, tiny home, bathhouse, rental unit. We began talking about on-grid, off-grid, solar. It really sparked a lot of beautiful conversation.